while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and she laid him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. God had this messy plan, a plan to save the world. And to do that, he was going to send his son. Where does the God of the universe send his son? Where does the King of Kings and Lord of Lords come? To a barn, a stable, a manger, of all places. Certainly no place fit for a king. But then again, this wasn't any ordinary king. When I say it was messy, I mean messy. It was a barn, a stable, right? So you've got animals and animal stuff, manure, mud, a pitiful place for people, much less a place for the King of Kings to be born. Why would God do that? Well, I can't tell you for sure, because Isaiah explains to us that his thoughts are not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. But that same prophet, 400 years before Jesus was born, said, all we like sheep have gone astray, each of us to our own way, and that he has laid our iniquities on him. You see, Jesus came to a messy place. Oh, yeah, a barn, a manger, that's messy. But he came to a messy world. Why? Because the shepherd was coming to take care of the sheep, to prepare a way for them to go home. That's what a shepherd does. He lives where the sheep are. He sleeps where they sleep. He eats where they eat. It got Jesus in trouble. Why did Jesus eat with sinners? Because that's what the shepherd does. An angel appeared to the shepherds in the field and said, this will be a sign to you. You will find the babe wrapped in cloths and laying in a manger. A sign. You ever wondered what that sign was? A sign for what? Maybe a sign that Jesus is accessible to everyone. A sign that the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills can relate to a homeless person. Because Jesus never had a home, never had a place to rest his head. Maybe it was a sign that God would have nothing to do with the social status of mankind. A sign that he detests the splendor of humans because it's not worthy of him. But it was a sign for us that we should follow suit. In fact, the Apostle Paul later on would write, we should have the same attitude as Christ Jesus. Although he was the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but that he made himself nothing, becoming a servant, being made in human likeness. A servant. You see, being a servant is messy. And Jesus set this incredible example for us. I mean, he got down on his knees and he washed feet. The God of the universe, the God who deserved the best of everything, got on his knees. He's the God who came to the world and was laid in a manger, a feed trough of all places. Why such a messy place? Because he was following a messy plan. So needless to say, that very first Christmas was dirty. It was grimy, it was filthy. But thank God it was. Because without it, what a mess we'd be in.
I enjoyed that video, not just because of the words of Tommy Woodward. He has a great message, but I especially like the footage because I've experienced barns like that. Frequently, while visiting my grandfather, we would walk through his barns. I got to milk the cows. I got to ride the horse for the family farm. I put hay in the troughs that the cows ate from. I shelled corn that was fed to the pigs. And yes, I even shoveled the manure that would be left by the animals. I like showing this video and making it a part of our Christmas celebration because it's a reminder of what that first Christmas was like and how it contrasts so much with the way that we tend to sanitize our Christmas. We work so hard at our well-planned present buying, our well-placed Christmas decorations, all thought put into a traditional family meal, and then hopefully an unwrapping frenzy that will create screams from the children and grandchildren, right? But the first Christmas reminds us that Jesus came to earth not so much in order to create this perfect family get-together, but he came into our messy world. It's a reminder that Christmas, the true Christmas spirit, is not so much about what we create with all of our planning. It's the fact that God is with us when life surprises us and we find ourselves somewhat in a mess. A little interesting fact when you read all of this chapter of Luke is that the word manger shows up 3 times. It's like the writer wants us not to miss the fact that Jesus was laid in a manger, a place where cattle and the animals eat from. And how important it is. Last Sunday, we learned that Jesus was born, most likely in a barn or stable, adjacent to the home probably of one of Joseph's relatives, since Bethlehem was his home. It was a reminder that God finds a way, because they found themselves in that situation because of the census that the Romans had instituted, so inconvenient at such a terrible time. And yet, somehow that child, vulnerable, came into our world and was born in that dirty and messy place. It's a sign. The manger is a symbol of God's persistent love. Not too long ago, I was a part of a wedding. And the wedding involved a bride who had a difficult time loving, expressing love, and experiencing love. She was adopted. She had a lot of issues with her identity. This was actually her second wedding. The wedding started late because the groom's father was late, something that happened a lot in his life. The groom, that young man, was actually the most responsible man in his family. And the bride came from a blended family and struggled with that growing up. And yet, at this wedding, she was creating her own blended family. Not exactly the most ideal of situations, not what you dream of when you're young about what you want your wedding day to look like. But as I was a part of that ceremony, I discovered any of my apprehensions about being a part of that celebration went away as I watched when the bride came down the aisle and I saw the groom with just tears coming down his cheeks uncontrollably. And the bride, who has a hard time showing emotion, was full of emotion. And I felt God telling me, Jerry, I found a way. I found the way for these two to find each other because that's what I do. And that's how God is. And that's what this message is about, that God comes into our world in all of our messy and complicated situations and still finds a way to bring his love into our world, into our lives, and into our hearts. So if your Christmas this season is full of harmony and love and everything's great, then I hope that you express your thanks, for those gifts are wonderful and sometimes rare. But if your life's a little messy, take heart in this message. Because the message is that Jesus is born, and he's called Emmanuel, which means God is with us in all our situations, messy or otherwise. Would you pray with me, please? Lord, may your Spirit be among us as we prepare to share the light. Reminder that you came into our world to bring that light into its darkness. And we hope that that will enter our hearts in such a way that we'll share that light and take that light with us wherever we go. So when we face those messy situations, when we come across people who have those complications in their lives, we will not judge, but we'll love as you have loved us. May that be what rests in our hearts tonight. Through Christ we do pray. Amen. Sharing the light, I think, is perhaps my most favorite thing to do the entire year as a pastor. Let me give you one little simple instruction in case you've not done this before. It helps if you allow the person who already has the light to hold it upright. And if you bring your unlit candle horizontally, then that'll keep you from dripping all over yourself or anything else. That little simple instruction certainly helps. And as we share this light, may it be more for us, not just a fun little exercise of watching darkness turn into light, but may it be the opportunity for Christ's light to truly enter our hearts, even in a small way. May God's blessings be upon all.